Hey guys, Ryan Fowler with the Inner Game Group. We are live here with Tim Costello, Jordan Kurtz, and me. We have an interesting clip to pick apart today. Alex Hormozi, YouTuber's favorite 100+ millionaire. He has some pretty interesting opinions on mental health. He's found a solution that, at least for now, has been working for him, and he comments on the mental health profession. And we're going to pick it apart because he says some good things. He said some stuff that it's like worth commenting on. So we have Tim here today, Jordan here today. Guys, introduce yourself, starting with Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim with clearthattrauma.com. And what do? We help you clear your trauma. What does that mean? We use hypnosis and techniques through hypnosis to set your inner person free from all the things that drag it down.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Jordan.
I'm Jordan Kurtz. I'm with jordankurtzhypnosis.com. They call me the belief engineer because I have actually my background's in engineering, but I'm starting to get into hypnosis.
Engineering beliefs.
Yes, exactly. And we help you end your limiting beliefs and unlock your full potential.
Yeah, and that's pretty apt because, I talk about subconscious optimization. It's literally changing your deep down subconscious beliefs from ones that are not serving you to the best ones. So very apt. So, yep, good show today. For those of you who don't know Alex Hormozi, we're going to examine a clip. I think he's around 31 at this point, and it took him 7 years to go from net worth of 0 to over 100 million. Last year, his company made 200 million. He's has like 1.3 million subs on YouTube. His channel's exploded. His wife, Layla Hormozi, also co-CEO of the company, and they work 90 to 100 hours a week, and very, very, very successful business people. And he has some very interesting and strong opinions on mental health, what works. We're going to comment on it and kind of it'll be interesting. It's a good learning experience for you guys because we're going to point out some pretty big flaws with his thinking. But at the end of the day, what he is doing, at least for right now, is working for him. So there's some good stuff there too. So before we dive into that, just notice the lower left hand of my screen, innermasculine.com/free-ebook. I have an ebook out. You just go to that website, the link, put in your email, you get the ebook right away, and it explains how your subconscious mind works and why it holds you back. We all know our subconscious mind is incredibly important, but very few people know what it actually does, how it actually works. How does it influence us? 90 to 95%. I have this, I'll show you this real quick. This just comes up on Google because I'm going to show this later today as a big reason that Alex Hormozi is flawed. His reasoning is flawed. Nonetheless, he has some good stuff too. The question here is, what percent of our brain activity is subconscious? Boom, right there. Google knows 95%. Brain activity is unconscious. Behavior is 90 to 95%. So, and that's really a big key to the flaws in Alex's rant today. But if you want to understand the other 95% of your brain, get the ebook. It's going to lay it out. It lays out the fundamentals, and you then understand, oh, this is why I have anxiety. Oh, this is why I procrastinate. Oh, this is why I self-sabotage, or if you struggle with depression or addiction or whatever, this stuff is so tough for people to beat because they're not addressing what's going on in the subconscious, which is, you look at an iceberg, everything below the water, that you got the iceberg on top and it's like 10 times bigger underneath the water. Well, same thing here. So it'll give you that understanding. So we're going to, and kudos to Jordan Kurtz for coming up with this clip. I'd seen this clip before. But it's very, very interesting what he says, and it definitely is worth commenting on, both calling him out on the good and the bad. And then I actually have a Jordan Peterson clip that's going to kind of put some things into perspective. And I actually, if you guys don't mind, Jordan and Tim, want to kind of, now again, there's a lot we cannot say about Alex and his psychology. because there's a lot we don't know. But I think there are some conclusions we may be able to draw and say this is probably, not for sure, probably what's going on. So if you guys don't mind, after playing the Jordan Peterson clip, let's talk about, okay, why does Alex work 100 hours a week, 95 hours a week? What's going on with that, with his subconscious? So it'll be an interesting show today. So do you guys have anything to point out before we're going? Any extra background you want to give for the clip, Jordan, or just dive in?
No, let's just dive in.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. And this does kind of give you some insight into the mind of super achievers as well, because he definitely is one.
And deficiencies that you have in your life. So whether it be struggling with anxiety or happiness and depression, or being a bad husband, or being money focused, or whatever the thing is that you claim to have a problem with, I want to give you really the only mental framework that has ever worked for me. If you're new to this channel, my name is Alex Hormozi. I'm an acquisition.com. It's a portfolio of companies.
That's important. Mental framework that's worked for him. We'll come back to that. We will, because I guarantee we have so much freaking evidence proof that this will not work for others. It will work for some people, but others, they will crash and burn with this so hard. But it works for him. It does, at least right now.
And let's be clear, it's working for him now.
Yeah.
It may not work for him later.
You know what works for alcoholics at first? Alcohol.
It's right.
He's saying
alcohol works great for the first few years for alcoholics.
He's not really defining what works for really means, right? And what that actually.
Well, he does go into that, what he does, but yeah.
He goes into what he does, but he doesn't we'll get into it. Well, I'll save that for later.
Yeah.
About $85 million a year. I make these videos because candidly, I enjoy sharing some of the things that have helped us kind of get.
Yeah, they're at 200 million now. This is, I think, a year old or so. He said 85 million a year. They're doing even more. I mean, he's an amazing businessman, no doubt about it whatsoever.
Through things as we've grown our companies, and there are a lot of people who are broke, and I don't want you to be one of them. And so I'm going to probably piss a lot of people off in this video, so I'm going to give you a heads up. Second thing is I will be cussing in this video, so if you have kids around, I would say, mute it or listen to it another time. So I was talking to an entrepreneur the other day, and they were saying that they were having panic attacks, right? And they were struggling with this issue. What I want to do is walk you through the process that I was explaining to them. Now, at this point, the reason the panic attacks started for this entrepreneur, ironically, is that they were talking to a therapist, and the therapist was like, let's look at your past, and dug up, crap about their past. And then they started looking at this thing, and then they started getting, anxiety, kind of remembering all these kind of past experiences and whatnot. Here's the thing. Most therapists, and I say this with 0 degree, most therapists are humans, and most humans suck at most things, especially things they think they're good at.
Does that include you, Alex?
And so
I'm not saying it does. I'm just pointing it out. You're human too, Alex.
So
you did say just
most,
so it could be someone else.
I don't disagree with anything you said so far.
Yeah, so far, although I will point out, when you understand how the subconscious mind works, when you start, there's something in the outside world that matches internal subconscious programs, it will spike the emotions tied to those programs. But talking about it that will trigger it, but also pretty much anything else in life that's a match for that program will trigger it too. So, and you cannot avoid those other things or you can, if you want to stay in your mom's basement and play video games all day, you can, but not if you're living life. So there's actually flaw number one, is he's making the assumption that only about talking about your past, that's the only thing that's going to trigger your trauma. No, hell no, way more will.
People who did okay in school.
What's that?
Well, to be fair, I think all he said was my entrepreneur that I was talking to, as the therapist, was bringing this stuff up. It was coming back up. I don't think he said it only comes up from that, but
yeah, the guy gets triggered. Yeah.
Cool.
But you watch the rest of this video, and he certainly seems to think that you'll see.
And now just like talking to people and don't have any fucking clue what they're doing. All right. So here's the deal. Here's the hot take.
I think to a degree that includes Alex, not on business. He's amazing at business, but on mental health, yeah, to a degree, which I think's ironic. He's basically saying others suck, but in this area, he kind of sucks too, but we'll keep going. Not in business, though. He's amazing at business.
What most of them will do is they will try and pull something up and say something to the extent of, what do you make that mean? What does that mean to you? The thought process behind this is, hey, you have this thing, it's triggering a feeling because you think that having anxiety makes you a bad person or makes you a bad entrepreneur or whatever thing that you say it has meaning, right? What do we make this mean? All right, that's the question. What are you making this mean? All right, so if you have problems, and this is especially important with cyclical behavior.
And what he's saying is, what do you consciously make this mean? What do you choose to make this mean? That's another flaw, and that is a flaw with some therapists. But you guys want to comment on why?
I think he's right. So far, I think everything, he's setting the premise.
True.
This is how the cognitive behavioral therapists work. So he's kind of trying to set up what they do. And the key here is the meaning.
This is some of what some of them do. And if they do it, there's a big flaw here, which is we can consciously choose meaning, which completely ignores the fact that what's in your subconscious has already chosen the meaning and is stuck and frozen there.
And here's what's interesting, and I mean this on like a nice way. So Alex, if you're watching, but
yeah,
he seems angry when he's explaining this.
Oh man, I was going to say that exact same thing. So I was going to hold my tongue for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because number one, let's figure out exactly who we're watching. Okay. This is a guy that started a gym. And then he expanded that to 3 gyms. And then him and his wife said, let's go help other people do their kind of gym thing. So they had like a boutique kind of thing going. Pretty cool deal. She's probably more of a marketer. He's probably more of a personality, right? She is now as well. So this is really
he brought her along for the ride.
This is a charismatic, good-looking guy.
Yep.
Right? Built 3 gyms. Probably very successful because he's sort of that energetic kind of guy. So his mentality is pound the weight till you get the result. It's sort of working it through no matter what. So he's very cognitive about, that. And he doesn't give any bad red pill advice like a lot of red pill people do, but he is about that force of doing something to gain something. So then him and his wife took this boutique and sold it to lots of people, came out with supplements, right? So marketing geniuses, wonderful people,
very hard
trying to help everybody. And then they sold part of their company off to American Pacific Group for $46 million, put that into a private equity fund, and they only invest in profitable businesses. So businesses that are already profitable, they put some money in there, and then they build it up into their boutique. And now they've sort of gone off of all of that. They started acquisition.com, and they are now making money, writing books, and doing this business education thing across the internet. So we have a power couple who has, quite frankly, forced their way into success by sheer momentum and will. And that's going to work for a while. Too. So that's who we're looking at right now. We're looking at a very dynamic, good-looking guy. And when you look at his wife, what is her, Leilana, I think her name is.
Layla.
Yeah, when you look at his wife, good-looking lady, tremendous personality, you sort of go, hey, I want to listen to this guy. I want to figure out what he's talking about. And if you don't know anything, this sounds like great information. It sounds like, man, I'm going to go do this too. All in all, we're going to find out.
Like a less toxic Andrew Tate, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to find out that overall, this is actually bad information. Although it is embellished with a couple of things here and there that are 100% true, just like Jordan's pointing out, how cognitive behavioral therapy works. He describes that lightly, but decently. But then he goes on to power through what he needs to do. And that's what you'll see throughout this video of pure will. And somehow he doesn't have too much toxic shame that allows him to do that. But he's still broke. And he's still not 100%. I'll leave it there, and then
Yeah,
we'll continue
I
on.
think he has toxic shame. He's actually admitted to having it, but he doesn't have it in a way that holds him back.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
it just people
Go
that
ahead.
have I just feel like people who have really figured out these issues, I think he seems all the videos I see of him, he speaks very passionately.
Yeah.
He speaks very well. In this one, he seems, and I really don't want to, like, a lot of people criticize red pill content, like, oh, you're just angry. But I'm saying this from a hypnotist perspective. Like, I can see that there's some issues going on in the background, because he seems like he's frustrated as he's explaining this. He doesn't seem his normal. He seems a lot more frustrated than he does in all the other videos he makes.
Yep.
And that's what tells me, it's like, I don't want to say, it's almost like he's trying to convince himself that his methods are working. Or it's like,
again,
why can't you just get it? Why can't you just get it? You just don't have
lifting weights until you get that 18-inch bicep. Just keep working. Just keep working. Just keep working.
Yeah, sheer willpower.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Very. I will say what he says about therapists, like, this is what therapists do. It's like, it's what some therapists do. But
yeah, correct. You can't wrap them all in one wrapper.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he is correct in saying that if the argument he's making that they do, which some of them do, is flawed. So I agree with that. We'll keep going.
Behavior, reinforcing behavior. This is also one of the
I sped this up a little.
reasons that I actually do not stand for the whole AA concept of standing up in front of people every morning and say, hi, everybody, I am an addict.
That is good advice right there.
He's talking about alcoholics.
It's literally
This is the good nugget he's got here. Don't accept your flaw. Figure it out.
And don't let it define your identity.
Absolutely.
What he's talking about is that he's reinforcing that. We've talked about this before on the show. It's this idea of reinforcing this belief. I am an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic all that time. Well, if you're people who aren't alcoholics, just don't think about alcohol. So if you're trying to get over being an alcoholic, you no longer, like, people who aren't alcoholics, they don't, and like, we talk about addiction and why they're alcoholics, but I agree with that portion of reinforcing the identity is bad. Now, he's going to go on to say here later, saying, okay, if you can just consciously remove that, you're good. It's like, well, it's a little harder than that. But so far, I agree with that little portion.
Yeah, I agree with it too. Here's, I use this article all the time. It's from Atomic Habits by James Clear, who did a lot of research into the world of psychology and neuroscience. His book sold 15 million copies. I think this is from chapter 2. It's on his website. He says, and this is neuroscience, they've done all sorts of studies. Key to building lasting habits, focus on creating new identity. Your current behavior is simply a reflection of your current identity. What you do is a mirror image of the type of person you believe you are. That's why you don't say you're an alcoholic. It's gonna reinforce alcoholic behavior. But with that said, that's just what you're cognitively saying. Does it matter? Does our self-talk matter? Yes. It's not the only thing. It's actually not the most powerful thing that influences our behavior. Self-talk, or what we cognitively think or say, it does influence. It's not the strongest element, but it does matter. So yeah, don't call yourself an alcoholic. So this is good advice he's giving right here. We'll keep going.
Like owning this deficiency and incorporating it and weaving it into your construct and your identity, and you reinforce it every fucking morning. It's insanity to me.
All correct.
The way to stop being addicted to something is to stop thinking about it. Like, what does it look like to not?
That's not true.
Yeah, not exactly true there.
Again, I showed you.
He was doing so good.
He was doing so good, but Google knows. And you guys, for you guys watching, this is a mistake he makes over and over. And this is the main mistake he makes as you watch this.
Well, it's not a choice. It's not,
What percent of our brain activity is subconscious? 95%. What percent?
Not a conscious choice. It's a subconscious choice.
That's the problem.
That's the difference. He's assuming it's a conscious choice, and we realize when we recognize that it's a subconscious choice. If you can reprogram your subconscious, you can eliminate those patterns. But
Decision making right there, 90%. Some say 95, some say 90. 95% of brain activity, 95% of decision making.
Either way, it's high. It's a lot.
Google knows what Alex does not. Guys, his business advice is amazing, but okay, well,
yeah, we'll keep. He explains a little more. We can.
Yeah, he explains a little more. All right, we'll keep going.
It looks like you just continuing to live your life, not even thinking about it. What does it look like to not have anxiety? It's not you doing your anti-anxiety routine in the morning and saying, I suffer from anxiety or I struggle with anxiety. It's not saying that and saying, I have to do these things. I must, I should, I need to in order to not have anxiety, because then you're thinking about anxiety. You give anxiety power. And so what I'm going to walk you through is the
most cognitive exercises don't do that. It's like they'll recommend meditation or other stuff. They won't have you focus on anxiety. So he's also wrong there, but maybe some do.
way.
And, welcome all viewers to the show today. Reduco, I see your notes. Good to see you. Everybody else, don't see any more notes from you, but glad you're here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, welcome to the show, Reduco. Loyal watchers, been watching us on many of our episodes. Yeah, this is a good comment here. Chip on his shoulder because of the relationship with his dad. Yeah, he talks about his dad in other episodes and how he hated. I don't think he hates his dad, but hates what his dad wanted for him.
Right.
Anyways, we'll keep going. If I can switch over, here we go.
Hold the space and own the power that you have in your own mind outside of the thing that you were projecting the power onto. The process that these therapists that are fucking retards will do is they will lead you through this thing where they try and transform meaning. They say, instead of saying it means you're a bad person, what if we just said, this is, it's a good thing, or it's not a bad thing, right? So we try and transform meaning. And I think that's like level 1, elementary, grade school of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? I think that's grade school. But the thing is, and this is the problem, because I've gone through the cycle, which is why I'm speaking about this so passionately. And I'll tell you a quick story before I dive in. So there was a period of time in my life where I was very unhappy, all right? And so I obsessed about happiness, right? I read all the positive psychology journals. I read the books. I read the happiness equation. Like I went through all of these things. And yet, after spending all of this time trying to obsess about happiness, I was no more happy. And so then I thought to myself, well, in one instance, I can spend lots of time and effort and be unhappy, or I can spend zero time and effort and be unhappy. Well, this one cost me less. I might as well start pursuing this. And this is what happened. I adopted this mentality, and I will share it with you, called fuck happiness. All right, bear with me. And so what ended up happening is that I thought these thoughts, and whenever the idea of, is this making me happy, and all of these normal trigger thoughts, I'd be like, oh, I'm unhappy, this isn't good, I feel sad, blah, 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 blah. I would literally have this trump card that I would just pop in my head and be like, fuck happiness, and I keep moving. The difference between fuck happiness and let's think about how we should be grateful for things is that when you say fuck happiness or fuck the thing that you are struggling with, fuck anxiety, fuck whatever, is that it no longer has power because we're not trying to transform the meaning of the behavior. We are eliminating the meaning behind it altogether.
Okay, any comments on this?
Yeah, again, pure will, bad advice. I can keep pushing the accelerator to get the car to go faster, but if it's out of gas, it's not going to go any faster.
I would say it's partially good advice for some people, but I'll wait for you guys to finish commenting, and I'll tell you why. But I'll wait first.
He should have. Well, he said he read all this stuff. You know what he should have read is Ryan's free ebook.
Yeah, nice plug, buddy. Honestly, he should have, because the ebook, you guys can read it in an hour, and it explains. It's so dense as far as the content. You're after it. It's kind of like taking the red pill. Like you'll never be the same again, because you're gonna see things in your life and how your subconscious is influencing you, and now understand what's going on, and you're gonna be like, oh dang, that's why I do that.
So Alex is obviously, he has a lot of angst towards typical cognitive behavioral therapy because
although he is doing his own form.
Yeah, because he calls them retards, and he talks about, how they were like last in their class in high school, and they're not. They're educated. They're not idiots. And here's what I had to say about calling people retards. This comes from the show The Office, and we'll take a comedic break. Michael Scott says, you don't call your retarded people You don't call retarded people retards. It's bad taste. You call your friends retards when they're acting retarded. Okay, we'll leave that there.
Okay. Yeah.
But the reality is, again, this is why I call this bad advice, because for a tremendous amount of people that are out there, this is not going to work because they don't even understand what he's doing. He just denigrated every therapist in the world. They're all retards, right?
Yeah.
And then he talks about how he does it, and he's swearing and cussing, and he's trying to be sort of persuasive in all of that.
He's frustrated.
Everyone's a
big
bad
time.
therapist but me. That's what he's
Right,
doing.
right.
Because he's still doing CBT. He's still doing self-talk.
Right, right.
He's just doing a different kind.
Yeah, so he's giving, I mean, again, there's these little nuggets of good stuff surrounded by this cesspool of bad advice.
Okay. All right.
And
I'm going to
that Trump card he says, that
Yeah.
Trump card he's going to explain, that's a conscious
Correct.
program trying to override a subconscious belief. And it's not a long-term fix. It might be a temporary relief, but it's not. If you have to keep doing that, is it really a solution, or is that just treating the symptoms but not really addressing the cause?
It's powering through.
Right.
And I think the thing you guys are kind of pointing out, watch other Alex Hormozi videos. Now, again, overall, I like Alex.
Yep.
By
Me
the
too.
way.
Yeah, I was listening to his
No
book
question.
yesterday.
I think he's trying to do good in the world. I don't know for sure, but I think he is. I think he's trying to be a good person. I think he is trying to help people by doing this video. I think he, is living life the best way he knows how. And in some ways, he's exceeding like crazy good in some ways. But if you do kind of look at him when you watch his videos, you got to kind of look closely. You can see like his negative emotion, trauma, whatever, it's closer to the surface here. But you can kind of see like this kind of intensity, which is tied to, well, after we play the Jordan Peterson clip, we'll comment on it more. But you can see kind of like some trauma bleeding through. He has videos where he talks about his dad and stuff, and there's some trauma there.
And this isn't like,
but he's
we're
not
not here to
guy.
bash an Alex. Like,
Yeah.
Alex, if you for some reason happen to come across this video, hit me up. I'll do a session for free. All that
Good luck.
resentment and trauma.
It may take
got
2 or
you, buddy.
3.
Yeah.
I got you, buddy.
But I think he's a pretty good person, and he's an amazing, amazing businessman. But
Absolutely.
now I want to tell you what's going on here. And my ebook explains this, by the way. But here's what's going on. Here's the difference between our subconscious mind and our self-talk. Both are important, although subconscious is absolutely more important. Our subconscious mind is the source of our emotions. Our emotions are generated from our subconscious. What happens is we're babies, we're children. We don't know anything about the world, little instinct, that's it. And we observe the world around us as babies and children, and we form conclusions and beliefs and interpretations and meaning then. And by age 8, 75% of these beliefs are formed. By age 14, 95% are formed. They become set in stone, and you don't have a choice consciously to change these meanings once they're there. But unless you do what we do, where you can change them, which is what we do all day, every day, and get massive. Watch my testimonials, man, or watch my client interviews. I got a ton of them. We get massive results all the time because we're actually able to change the subconscious. So what happens is, as adults, we go through the world, anything in the outside world that is a match for the belief in us, it spikes a feeling tied to that belief. So that guy at the beginning who was getting all this anxiety because the therapist was talking about stuff from his childhood, well, they're talking about stuff that's a match for the beliefs in him from his childhood, and the feelings, anxiety, and all the other sadness and everything else starts coming up. Well, guess what? As you go through life, that happens anyways. When anything's a match for your subconscious beliefs, the feelings tied to the beliefs get spiked. Now, here's what self-talk does. Our emotions come from our subconscious based on how it interprets the world, based on the beliefs we formed as kids that are set in stone by age 14, and many of them sooner. Self-talk temporarily and partially modifies the feelings once they come up.
Yep.
So if you have, for example, for our audience, if you have a belief, when I fail, it means I'm a failure, I'm a loser, that formed in your childhood, then anytime you could fail, you're going to have anxiety first, because our brain wants us to avoid that painful feeling. So your brain gives you anxiety, says, don't do it. Now you're procrastinating, which 95% of people do. And if you do fail, you feel terrible, because what happened in the outside world is a match for the belief in you. When I fail means I'm a failure, and in the outside world you fail, then that feeling of being a failure gets triggered. Now you can say, hey, it's okay, I'll get it the next time, I'm just learning and growing, I forgive myself, you know, I'm only human. You can say the self-talk and make yourself feel partially better. But you got to do it every time. It's only a temporary effect, and it's only a partial effect. What he's doing right now is he says, anytime I feel this coming up from me, I say, F it. And for him, that self-talk partially mitigates his trauma and helps him so he can move on. But the fact that he has to keep saying it is evidence that there is stuff in his subconscious comes up over and over and over and over and over, because it's still there. The self-talk does not fix it. It temporarily changes the emotions that come up. That's what he's doing. And for him, it works as long as he keeps doing it. Along with, now he may be conscious of this or not, but he has behaviors that also cover his pain, which in my opinion, includes working 90 plus hours a week, which for most people is like, what the hell are you doing working 98 hours a week like him and his wife do? 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's their schedule.
He says it works, right? He says this works for now. But my question is, what does he mean by this works? If it's like, is it because when we say our methods work to help clients, I think we mean something different than what he's saying.
Yeah.
It might give him temporary relief, but when we say our methods work, we mean we figure out what the source is and target the source. What he's talking about treating symptoms. We're talking about
root cause.
We get rid of the root cause, so it doesn't even get triggered anymore.
That's right.
You go through, and you don't even have trauma getting triggered to then have to manage by saying with your self-talk. Right. Yeah, it works for him. Now, again, we don't know everything about his inner world. So, you know, some things we can tell, and some things we can say, this is definitely this way. Some things it's probably this way, and other stuff we just don't know about him. Yeah. You know, haven't sat down and talked to him for 3 hours to.
Yep. By the way, hello, Mike, and hello, P-Dubs. Good to have you here again today. I recognize those names a lot.
Loyal listeners.
Yep.
Yeah, and he does talk about his childhood in his other videos too, you know, so we are able to, we've watched a lot of Alex Hormozi because he's a brilliant businessman, and he does have a lot of good advice, just not here. Yeah. Even here, there's some good advice. You know, it's not all black and white, but
I do like that he is, the only thing I will say about his analysis that he is starting to challenge, like he's walking down the path towards the subconscious mind. He's coming up, like he is thinking about these issues and trying to come up with a different or creative solution to try and solve them. He's not like a lot of the cognitive behavioral therapy is it's always one way. It's this every time. He's thinking about these ideas, and he's trying to come up with a solution that seems to be more tailored to him. And so I like that he's at least, I think he's going to help people think about these issues in different ways. I don't necessarily agree with all the conclusions that he makes, but I like the fact that he's thinking about therapy, and he's like, maybe these things that the therapists do don't work for some reasons. Maybe we have to think about this in a different way.
And I think for a lot of people, therapy doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, the title is his title is Why Therapists Failed Me, right? Yep. And so this is his experience.
I don't have it to pull up. Maybe I'll, while we're watching this, I'll look for it and pull it up. But there was a study done comparing hypnosis to is a peer-reviewed study published in scientific journal, psychology journal, and it admitted in this study that cognitive behavioral therapy for helping people with mild to moderate depression at most works for half.
Yep.
And the other half it just doesn't work for. So a lot of what he's saying about these therapists is true. CBT is an incomplete methodology because they're using the conscious mind. I just show you Google knows 90-95% is subconscious.
Google knows it all.
Yeah, Google knows, man. All right, we'll keep going.
We're transforming it into nothing. And so hear me out for a second. And I don't know why this is getting all spacey.
You can say whatever you want. That subconscious program is still there. So you have to self-talk. Yep. That's the problem. That is the problem.
Being weird. I've tried to fix this thing 100 times. The reason this is so important, all right, is that when you enter these vicious reinforcing cycles, so let's say it's like, oh God, I'm afraid I'm gonna have a panic attack tonight. I don't want to have a panic attack. You start thinking about having a panic attack. And then of course you have a panic attack because the fear of the thing is what reinforces the cycle. And you can do this with anything, right? It could be a guy with erectile dysfunction. Like, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. And then it happens, right? Because you're worried about it happening, not because the happening itself is the thing, right? And I'm trying to use examples that purposefully people derive shame from. Because the thing is that the shame of the occurrence is the thing that gives it power. And so
that is true. Shame is we talk about toxic shame all the time. It's like the root of so many problems. It's ridiculous.
Well,
but he just thinks it's our cognitive thought processes that causes the worry and the shame. No,
the shame is internal. The fear is already there. Yeah, it's subconscious. It's not. It's like, I'm worried about being ashamed about having erectile dysfunction, and so there's going to happen. It's like he's kind of mixing cause and effect there a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of tricky, but yeah.
And we know our stuff works because we fix it all the time. By the way, one of my the Brandon S. testimonial or interview on my YouTube channel, he had severe sexual issues and fixed it with self-hypnosis. Permanently fixed it. Permanently. We know what we're talking about because we fix this all the freaking time.
If you remove the shame, and by the way to remove shame is to shed light on it. So nothing can give you shame if you admit it openly.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's right. He is correct, though. If you remove the shame, that's the key. But what he's doing is not doing that. But he is right. If you remove the shame, it won't be there. But his method doesn't work.
Yeah, I think his method can help partially for some people. But
again, it's that cognitive effort to power through.
Yep.
It's just funny. He keeps saying like the first half of the sentence, I'm like, yeah, that's really good. And then the back half, it's like, oh crap. No, it's like he keeps doing that.
It's that nugget in a cesspool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now also my YouTube show on Do You Really Want the Ultra Wealthy Mindset? It's him talking to Tom Bilyeu, and they're talking about the three things all ultra successful 9-10 figure net worth people have. One is they all believe they can do anything they want. They deserve the best. They can do the best, get the best. But at the same time, they have this crippling insecurity their whole lives that no matter what they do, it's not good enough. And he has that, and Tom Bilyeu has that, and they admit that is an ongoing problem for them. Go back in the my live shows to Do You Really Want the Ultra Wealthy Mindset? They talk about this. So he, by his own admission on other shows, hasn't fixed his shame. It's still there in him.
If everyone knows the thing.
What's that?
If you want to talk ultra wealthy, we can talk Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos often has said how his workday goes. He doesn't wake up with an alarm. He just wakes up, plays with the kids, has his breakfast, reads his paper, whatever. And then about 10 o'clock, he finally shows up to work. Now, that could be later in the wealthy years, and it might have been a little bit different where they're in the garage, but still, he's not the 100-hour-a-week guy. In fact, he heavily promotes work-life harmony. When I was at Amazon,
very interesting.
When I was at Amazon, they don't want you more there as a salaried manager more than 50 hours a week.
Very interesting.
Period. So the ultra wealthy, their mindset is not 100 hours a week.
True. Well, it does depend. Elon
Yeah.
Musk is 100 hours a week.
Yeah, but he's not really working. He's just playing. Come on.
No,
Blasting rocket ships and
he's doing what he's passionate about, but
Right.
he is working his ass off. He is.
Yep.
All right, we'll keep going.
And you accept the thing or deem the thing meaningless, then it no longer has power over you. So let me give you an example. So this entrepreneur that I was talking about earlier, they were telling me that they were having, they're having anxiety attacks and it was preventing them from sleeping, et cetera, right? And I was like, so? And they're like, well, I'm really working on it. And I was like, why? And they like looked at me cross-eyed and I was like, how long have you been working on this? And they're like, 8 months. And I was like, are you less anxious than you were before? They're like, well, I think a little bit. And I was like, do you think you would be a little bit less anxious if you just did jack shit and waited 8 months from when you were bad until now? They're like, well, maybe. I was like, time does heal lots of wounds. I was like, so you spent all this time to get this little outcome and you could have just let time happen and probably had the same outcome, right? Right. I was like, but let's take it one step further. Why didn't you tell me how many bowel movements you had yesterday? I mean, I didn't think it was relevant. Exactly. So why are you sharing with me that you have panic attacks? Because you think it's meaningful. You derive meaning. Your brain is telling you that this is something that is a problem. So the thing is that the deeming of the thing a problem is the problem. And trying to change it or transform the meaning into something else is, in my opinion, just as bad, because the way that you created the mess that you are in a vicious cycle of reinforcement is that you found a thing and then you said, I will give this meaning. And then you spent the rest of your time trying to transform the meaning. When if you want to solve the problem, the experience of having the problem solved is to not think about the problem at all.
Does that work?
so there's a nugget in there somewhere, but I just
There's
can't
truth
find
in
it.
here. Well, there's
He's talking
A lot
about
of what he's saying
rumination. He's
is
talking about
true, but there's a-
rumination, right?
Right.
there's a few big things he's leaving out. That go ahead, Jordan.
Well, like he's using the analogy of holding something, spinning. He's
Right.
talking about rumination, and yeah, that's a problem. But his quote, the way to is you just remove the meaning, and then you're good. It's like, no,
You can't do
You
that.
can't do that. You can't.
Right.
You can't
It
just.
doesn't work.
You can't consciously do that. You can subconsciously reprogram it and resolve it, but you can't do that consciously. And I don't like. And he seems so frustrated. He seems so frustrated when he's explaining this, and that's why I'm like, because clients that come out of sessions with us, they're not.
Why does this guy work 100
frustrated
hours
this
a
way.
week? If
Yeah, they
Go
don't
ahead.
come out like Alex is speaking right now. So this is what's working for him. Like Alex, if you're watching, you can go farther than this. You don't have to be frustrated with this process anymore. Clients don't come out of our sessions frustrated, feeling like, oh, I just removed the meaning. Yeah, it's not the experience. They feel lighter. They feel like they've released, they've resolved these subconscious feelings. that
They
they've been
took
dealing
some
with.
and then they can
Out of
talk
their
about
control.
it and they don't feel bad.
So
Yeah.
so let's go back to a description he made. He talked about the entrepreneur who had something happen that caused some type of anxiety, whatever the trigger was, whatever. And 8 months go by and he asked him, do you feel less anxious? Well, yeah. And
little
why?
bit.
Well, because he was doing this method, right? And then he even says, well, if you'd have just waited and done nothing, would you have also felt less anxious? Well,
He doesn't know.
scientifically, you don't know, but
don't know.
likely true because novelty does wear off traumatic events,
Okay.
right? So there is time go by that, sort of softens those sharp edges
To a
of those
limited
events.
It
It
depends.
doesn't
but
make the trauma internally go away. It just makes you get used to it. It's not as much on your mind again. So, so there's less generation of anxiety, etc. So he's sort of correct in that as time goes by, some things just get a little easier to deal with. Not everything, but some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you what he does that is right, except for one thing he doesn't mention, which totally flips everything on his head. He says it's the meaning we give things that makes it important, that traumatizes us, that causes a problem or doesn't cause a problem. He is exactly okay. Not everything. Like if someone, shoots you in the head, it doesn't matter what meaning you give to that. You're dead. But for many, many, many things, he is 100% correct. What he doesn't know, and he doesn't mention it because he doesn't know it,
It's the subconscious doing that.
95% of the meaning we assign to stuff happens before age 14, and 75% of that happens before age 8. The meaning we give to something when something happens to us at 2 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, that gets lodged in us. It gets set in stone. Most people, their beliefs by age 14 that are in their subconscious will be unchanged their entire life for most people. And you can change it about 5% or maybe 10% with self-talk and with your cognitive thought processes. That's it. You can go to the YouTube live show where we talk about trauma, how body keeps the score, how these people traumatized in childhood with severe trauma, their average life expectancy is 20 years, almost 20 years less than people that were not raised with very severe trauma. I mean, Dr. Vanderkolk's book on Amazon, it's a #1 best-selling psychology book since 2015, how trauma is literally stored in the cells in our body, that we have neurons processing data and storing stuff all throughout our body, in our gut, on our heart. They found brain cells on our heart. It's there. It's science. So
the book that
just this way or that, he's talking about above the ice. He's saying, let's address everything above the iceberg above water, and by doing that, it's going to make all that 95% of the iceberg that's below the water not even exist. It's like bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah,
go
the
ahead.
book that Ryan is referring to for a reference is "The Body Keeps the Score" by Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah, I always mess up his first name, so I just call him Dr. Van der Kolk.
That's all right.
But yeah,
in case somebody's looking for it, it's a great book, audio book as well.
Yeah, it's long, it's detailed, but it's great. I will keep going.
What it is actually reversing the process that created meaning to begin with, which is removing meaning altogether. I'm saying this because I've had so many things that I've struggled with in my life that I would consistently obsess about over and over and over. Oh, I don't want to have that happen again. Oh, I don't want to have that happen again. And then it would happen. And so, in my opinion, the only way to overcome these issues is to, you can slap the fuck happiness concept on it, but it's to destroy the meaning of the thing itself and let it shrink into irrelevance. My opinion, most of the psychological problems that we deal with are better dealt with, not by trying to directly combat them, but by not giving them the power of our attention. And there's a big difference here. I'm not saying the thought of anxiety comes up and you say, oh, I don't want to think about it, because then it's fear. Fear gives it power. Shame gives it power. It's not that. It's looking at it and saying, why are you bringing this up? This is irrelevant. This is a non-issue. And so for the same reason that you can have noise in the background and you don't think about it, is that it's just noise. And so what we do is we shrink the thing from being a signal that our brain deems meaningful to noise that is in the background that we no longer ascribe meaning to altogether. And that is how it eventually shrinks into irrelevance. And then we only choose to allocate our attention towards the thing that we find meaningful, right? And so what happened in my little fuck happiness story is that I said, this is no longer a productive conversation. I'd be like, I'm unhappy. I'd be like, fuck happiness, whatever. I'm going to keep moving. And a funny thing happened.
So just so you guys know what he's doing here, his self-talk is partially mitigating his issues. It's working for him partially. And then he focuses on other stuff to distract himself, such as working 90 to 100 hours a week and being hyper-focused on all this other stuff. People do that all the time. People watch TV to zone out. People play video games. Hey, workaholism is a thing.
Yep.
People work in order to zone out stuff that's in them that otherwise would come up. He's combining that with a certain amount of self-talk that works for him, and right now it's working. That's what's going on. For him right now, that's working. For someone else, it wouldn't work at all. For the majority of people, work a little bit or not at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, his analysis is just kind of slightly off, because he said something like something comes up and then you have fear or anxiety, but because that thing has meaning. So if you take away the meaning, you won't have the shame. But I think he's got it backwards. The thing that comes up is usually the fear and anxiety when you're triggered by something, and the thing that comes up is the fear. And so it's like you can't I think he's kind of got the order wrong. And
Well,
so
he doesn't
that's-
understand that the fear and shame is stored in our body and it's there and it's
Yeah.
getting triggered. He's like, it won't even be there if you don't give it energy. It's like, no, it's there. That's been proven. It is physiologically stored as energy in your body. Body
Yep.
keeps the score. They've done so much science on this, a ridiculous amount. He doesn't get it. He thinks it just comes up if you give your cognitive thoughts give weight to it. Wrong. It's there. It's getting triggered. It's always been there.
The interesting thing,
Been there
yeah,
since
the
childhood.
interesting thing he talks about this thing going into the background, which becomes
Right.
noise, this sort of white noise kind of thing.
And then
and
he
he's sort of
focuses
correct
on other
there.
stuff.
It's still there. It doesn't go away. It may fade in the background right now, but it's still there.
And we had talked about earlier, why do you think he works so much? It might be because he's passionate about it, but
Yep.
again, like if you're a workaholic, that's one of the ways these things manifest.
His subconscious has figured out a way to calm or to numb the trauma. And for him, it's working. For others, it's porn, video games, alcohol, cocaine, whatever the case may be. His distraction is work.
For Kurt Cobain, it was music.
Yep.
Yeah, and that would be our
And
analysis.
I'm not saying that will happen to him at all, but what happened to Kurt? Did it work forever?
Nope.
Yeah.
No. He self-deleted.
And maybe we're wrong, but this is us giving the analysis based on what we know about Alex Hormozi from what he puts out on YouTube. Who knows what habits he's got behind the scenes that he doesn't share? I don't know. I don't know what he's like behind the
And
scenes.
we don't fully know what's in his subconscious. We know we know a little bit.
Right. And we can get some glimpses based on the clients we've worked with and see it in Alex and the way he's describing this process. So we can get a little bit of that background, but that analogy, like Tim was saying, of just shoving it back, it's still there. Exactly. It's still there.
We know how the subconscious mind works, and we know what his techniques are actually doing.
Yeah. And
that we know.
Yeah. And that's like the opposite of what we kind of tell guys. He's kind of saying, shove it away, don't give it meaning and pull it away.
It's still there.
That causes a lot of, it pops up in other areas. And it's like, we're trying to tell guys, become more aware of these things so that you can clear them. That's one of the things we do. And when we
that's
have
how
clients,
you get rid of it.
You have to pull this stuff out of clients, because if they've done what Alex is suggesting, to repress, pull away, then we have to spend more time with them trying to get them to undo that process because they've done it for so long.
Yeah.
So once you have the correct tools, it's no longer healthy to just repress all this stuff. Use the right tools, use the hypnosis, and clear it out forever.
Yeah, and he's at the age, early 30s, where I mean, again, I'm not saying he's alcoholic. I'm just drawing a parallel here because I really don't think he's an alcoholic. You've heard the term functioning alcoholic because alcohol works for them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in your 20s and 30s, and it depends. Some people burn out in their 20s and 30s, but some people that'll work for them for a long time, and so his method can work for a long time. But
yeah,
my guess is at some point, and we don't know how much he has in him. Maybe it's moderate trauma that he can manage with these techniques the rest of his life, and that's it, but if it's more severe than that, then it's only a matter of time where it's gonna poke out regardless. So anyways, we'll keep moving.
A few years later, I looked up and I realized that I was significantly more happy than I was before, or as I prefer to say, I was significantly less unhappy, which also gives less power to the thing altogether.
That's key.
Yeah, that's
a key.
Yeah.
You see how he changed that? He goes, well, maybe I really wasn't that happy.
I was less unhappy.
But I was less unhappy.
Yeah.
That's a key subliminal prompt there from his subconscious going, okay, you're not truly happy, but you're less unhappy.
Also, he became a lot more successful. And if you have an internal program that your worth is based on your success, then yeah, he would be less unhappy because he actually is a lot more successful now.
Yep.
So
a different point that I want to bring up, because I think it's equally important around this topic. A lot of the fear and the shame comes from perceived judgment that we have from an anonymous outside society. right? We have
Sort
a
of true.
voice or a
Yeah, he's
Sort of
dropping some
true.
truth. Yeah, he's dropping truth nuggets here
Yep.
and there. It's just tainted with stuff that isn't true.
series of voices that we believe exist, that only exist in our mind, that are judging us based on this behavior that we are suffering from. One of the reasons that I like to own the deficiencies publicly is not because of you guys. It's for me. I own, like, for example, when I had, when we were running and growing our first big business, which was the licensing business, I was always upfront. I said, I'm here to make money. And the reason I said that was so that I would have no shame in making money. Because then if people in the future were going to say something like, Alex is only here to make money, I would then look at them and say,
And
Some people wouldn't even have shame in the first place.
right.
Right.
That's right.
That's him
Again-
admitting to a subconscious. I am managing my subconscious shame about making money by behaving this way.
Correct.
That's what's really going on.
So hear me out. Listen to this dialogue. Let's say I was attacked, because the attacks that I'm saying I'm going to portray as though it's outside, but it's inside of our minds that we attack ourselves, right? So let's say somebody comes up to me, a woman, and says, you're a terrible husband. Most people say that there are two forms of defense against this. Number one is saying, no, I'm not a bad husband, right? And then giving all the reasons why I'm a good husband. The other way to defend against that would be to say, well, being a husband's not necessarily such a bad thing, right? And so one is to dispute, the other is to alter.
You can also just laugh and say that's
Shut
And
up.
we're altering the meaning behind it.
Reminds me of the agree and amplify.
Yeah.
when women
Yeah.
shit test you, like the example I always use, the girl's like, you only want sex, and it's like, no, I also want you to make me a sandwich after sex.
That's right.
Yeah, you're just like suck it,
Exactly.
and you actually pass the test because you're like, I'm not gonna
It's a
argue. I
reflex.
don't care. This is, I'm gonna make a joke about this because this so doesn't matter to me.
And
Yeah.
we're saying that we're not the thing, but still allowing the thing to have meaning, allowing a bad husband to be a negative connotation that we ascribe meaning to. I think this is meaningful, and it's negative but meaningful, and so I will say I am not that thing. Or version two is, this thing is meaningful, but I understand it and interpret differently, right? Those are the two ways. The second way is how most therapy works, and I also think that it's bullshit. And so here's door number three, is that you look at the thing in the
Yeah, this is him passing shit tests. He's like, I don't care.
face and
Yep.
you say, and I think you're a bad husband, and you're right, and watch them shrivel.
Agree and amplify, or he just agrees. But if you amplify, it says it would be like, I'm a bad husband, and yesterday I killed 3 kittens.
So this is a sales technique that he's using here.
Yeah.
This is okay, but I'm going to step aside and come through with something else, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to argue with you. I'm going to meet your objection by agreeing with you and going in a different direction. Because yeah, you're right. So what? Here's what's important.
Yeah.
They will be paralyzed because everything that they have exists to have a counterforce. But if there is no counterforce for it to react to, the thought process stops. And so if you struggle with these vicious, recurring, consistent dialogues and arguments in your head,
There's actually therapists who use this method, by the way.
Yeah.
about what's good.
Notice how, okay, I just want to point something out. Like, notice how we were all given examples of the agree and amplify, and we're kind of cheerful about it, kind of joking around.
pissed.
See how frustrated he is giving this analogy? It's
He's
notice
at
the
war,
difference.
man. He's at war.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're joking around. It's like, I was like, yeah, I'm a bad husband. I also killed 3 kittens. I'm just having fun. He's into this. There's some negative energy, some frustrated,
Right.
something energy here.
Right.
What would you say? Frustrated, angry?
This is just dirty energy.
I feel like he's trying to convince himself that he's right.
Yeah.
He's trying, because you can see it. You can see his eyes go up, and you can see the body language. He's really thinking about the way. I don't know. Maybe he's reading something on the screen. Maybe he's
I
not.
think this does work to a point. Self-talk does work to a point. It does work. Someone comes to me for a session. I do analysis, and then I do any life coaching, and then I do self-talk for an hour, and then I do a hypnosis session. So that's self-talk works. That's why I teach people self-talk. But it's a fraction of the solution you need.
Why it should change and why you need to be different and why this shouldn't be this way. Just look at it in the eyes and say, and I'm going to give you a really controversial example of what I think should have happened in a public scenario. Tiger Woods, he was outed, or ousted or whatever it is. He was publicly shamed for the cheating thing, right? And mind you, this is not me condoning cheating. This is me to illustrate a position of power. And this is a public demonstration of power, but you can take it in terms of how you can internally project that power onto the idea that you want to vanquish. All right. And we don't vanquish it by transforming it. We vanquish it by eliminating the meaning altogether and letting it shrink into irrelevance. So what Tiger, in my opinion, should have done in that situation when they said, you banged all these girls and you were lying and blah, 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 blah. You should have said, yes, I'm a liar and a cheater, but I'm the best fucking golfer there is. Next question. What do
Dude,
like what Trump does.
dude. So where do you even go? First of all, I can't even imagine the subconscious trauma that is in Tiger Woods. From
Oh yeah, well, he had immense pressure on him since a
oh
kid.
my goodness, from an early age of
Yeah.
you got to be the perfect golfer. And Alex is going, yeah, I just threw away my marriage, gave her half my money, lost my access to my kids, and
But I'm
yeah,
the best
screw that. But
golfer
I'm a
ever.
good
That's-
golfer.
Screw that. Just throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm terrible.
Yeah, that
If you
was
shame-
dynamite there.
Yeah.
That's not going to keep his wife from taking half his shit and divorcing him.
Yep.
If you,
And it's also not going to keep the media from, doing all this stuff that makes him lose all these endorsements and deals and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Now he loses hundreds of millions in endorsement deals. That's his solution there is not going to prevent that from happening.
when you try and shame someone who doesn't have toxic shame, it
Doesn't
kind of
work.
bounces off of them. They're able to have those kind of, I guess, the frame. A shit test is really a frame test, right? They're able to have those kind of natural responses because it really doesn't affect them. They treat it. That's why.
Then you can do what he's talking about and not be triggered. You can say, you know what, I screwed up. But honestly, in that situation, a guy going through a divorce, all that, there's no way it's not. Even if you're emotionally healthy, it's going to affect you. Period.
Yeah.
If Layla divorced him, you think he could just say and takes half his business? You think he could just say F it, it doesn't matter, and that's going to work for him? Bullshit. Nope. That is such a load of utter bullshit.
Yeah.
If Layla divorced him and took half of his business and he just, F it, I'm still awesome.
This is true dirty energy coming through now. He's just super angry.
Well, and he's saying stuff that it's like, okay, Alex, all right, just calm down. Let's look at this. Is it really going to happen like you're saying that? Let's pick we're picking that apart. They're really going to, if Layla divorced you, took half your company, took half your crap, that was very public. And because of that, you lost a lot. Just being in divorce court so you can work on your company, everything that entails, which is going to hurt you financially in addition to losing half your stuff. You're saying you could just say F it and it wouldn't affect you emotionally at all. Let's pick it apart. Is that really the case, Alex? I think if you got him to calm down and really look at, if you could, I don't know if you can.
And look at the example.
In that case, that would be tough for me. It'll be tough.
I just noticed this. I just noticed this too. I noticed, what did Alex say Tiger Woods should say? Or he said, yes, I did this and this, but I'm the best golfer. What is he doing there? External validation.
Yep.
Or something. What does that tell you where Alex's mindset is?
It's it.
External validation.
Look at me.
100
Look at
me.
me.
CEO. External validation.
Yeah, and Alex here did a video on he did a video on how much money you need to make to live the lifestyle of the ultra wealthy. It's a good video. It came to a conclusion. You make about $600,000 a year. You can have your Lamborghini, your Bentley, your penthouse, and in Dallas or wherever, and charter a private jet twice a year, and your Gucci and all those clothes and everything, and $600,000 a year. Well, why is he making $100 million a year? Why isn't he just
stop now, go fishing?
Yeah, go on tour, take a tour of the Mediterranean instead of working 100 hours a week. If you make all this money, why are you working 100 hours a week? What is the payoff to just, I got a bigger company now, it's making more money now? It's like, is that really superior to taking some amazing cruise? Like, I want to take the Monsters of Rock tour.
So they have enough money to live on. They have enough money to retire on. just because their businesses are bringing in $200 million in revenue doesn't mean that that's the profit at the end of the day. That's top line revenue that they're bringing in.
Yeah, but they had about 25 million profit at 100 million revenue, just so you know.
I'm just saying that everybody says he's $100 million CEO. He may be a $200 million CEO. That doesn't mean he's worth $200 million.
No,
it means that the businesses that he's managing bring in $200 million. I mean, Walmart brings in 560 billion or 600 billion every year, but they only make 3% profit. So, you know, Doug McMillon is the $600 million CEO, but his business only brings in about 3%. So, you know, when you break it down, now they made their money when they sold their part of their 66% of their business off to that other company, and they got $46 million. Boom, put it in the bank, have a great time, put up some equity funds, start lending out money and having that start making money for you. All that good stuff. Good brains going on between him and Layla. But again, it's not the end of the world. And by the way, if you're making $600,000 a year and you got the Lamborghini and the house in Dallas and all this kind of stuff, what you have is a lot of debt and payments, because $600,000 a year doesn't buy all that in the first year. Hell, the used Lamborghini could cost you $250,000.
Yeah, you can live the lifestyle at.
You can live good. You can live good, no doubt about it.
That's $600,000 after tax. So he does. They have what we know. If what they say is correct, is that their take-home pay before tax is 25 to 30 million a year. That's when they're making 100 million. Now they're making 200. That's what we know.
Yep.
So now with that said, what I want to point out, I think he enjoys doing business. I do think he
absolutely
really has a passion for it. But when you have all this money, why are you doing that 100 hours a week and not at least taking some time off to genuinely enjoy that? Now, that's the question. Why not tour the Riviera? Why not tour Europe? Why not charter your own little super yacht and go around?
But is 14 hours a day, 7 days a week a marketing ploy?
Well, that's what they say. They say
I understand.
They work 14 hours a week. That's what Layla says on one of her videos.
I get that. Yeah.
But a lot of these very wealthy CEOs, and their co-CEOs do work 80 plus hours a week.
Yeah, because a lot of it is business functions. They go to dinners with clients and all that kind of stuff that they consider work. I mean, there were times in my career that I worked 100 hours a week, probably 7 or 8 weeks in a row. But I wasn't physically working. Yeah. I was just there.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
And do you think that?
But while they're there, they're not able to tour the Riviera. Layla is not able to have kids.
You do need to enjoy some of your wealth.
Yeah. And it's not a guarantee that, okay, Alex has trauma and this is why he works that much. People do work that much because they genuinely enjoy it. They derive bringing value to other people. 100
hours a week, you either have to, for some reason, you either have to, or there's some sort of imbalance.
Yeah, we're basing that off of what we know about Alex and what he said in this video, and we suspect that there's
some of this is speculative.
Right. We suspect that there's some subconscious program that makes him need to do that to mute other feelings.
You already talked about it with Tom Bilyeu.
And it doesn't mean that, let's say he has a session with one of us and clears all of this stuff. It doesn't mean he necessarily stops it, but there's, what's fueling him to do that? Some people, as we've worked with, they struggle with, they actually work more after we work with them because they were struggling with procrastinating.
Well, but they were working 40 hours. Now they're doing 50.
I mean, now
he's doing 100.
I'm working 90 to 100 hours a week. I work 60 hours a week in my day job. I'll do about 10 or 15 hours in my hypnotherapy business, and I'll work about 25 or 30 hours for Carrie making pens. But I'm not building houses. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not out there, physically working so hard it wears me out.
Yeah.
Now, how long do you think? I'm just curious, Tim. How long do you think you can sustain that for?
Well, the hypnotherapy business will eventually overwhelm the day job. In the day job, I'll just quit.
Yeah.
And then I'll be back down to about 50 hours a week, 55 hours a week kind of thing. But again, I'm not working. And, you know, when I go on a cruise, we go on a cruise, right? Carrie and I get on a Disney ship for a week and have a great cruise. And then we get back and then we work it again and we spend time together. And, you know, I'm making her pens and she goes live with me when we're doing pens. So it's not a bad gig. But
can you do 90 to 100 every week for the rest of your life? Would you want that?
Pretty much, yeah. I enjoy working, but again, I'm not digging ditches. I take a break when I want. I do what I want.
Okay.
Even in my day job, right? If I got to go run errands and go have lunch with somebody or whatever, I just go do it. I'm not, I'm working from home.
You're not
you know,
trying
Ryan
to cover
says, hey, I got this thing
You're
to
not
do.
trying to
Great.
cover something up. You're not trying to compensate for something.
Right. I'm just having fun. I mean, I'm an empty nester. I got 5 grandkids, three boys. You know, nobody's here, so nobody's sucking up my time. And then once time, Carrie and I will binge some episode on HBO Max or Netflix or something like that and have a good time.
Okay, very good, guys. So we will keep going. Got
They say
2 minutes left.
when you accept it, there is no conversation. And so try this in the next argument you have with someone, but more importantly with yourself, is that someone says, I think you're X, Y, and Z. And you said, you're right. Just give the power. Just say, sure, you're right. Now what? And
you're fired. So I embezzled $2 million from your company. And you're going to jail.
But I was working 100 hours a week for you.
Yeah.
Point. When your brain tells you something that you don't like or that you don't want to look at, instead of trying to make it into something else, liken it to an irrelevant observation.
Which is making it into something else, right?
Brain, why didn't you bring up that
That's his version.
brown hair?
I didn't catch that the first time.
Brain,
That's a good point.
why didn't you bring up how many bowel movements I had yesterday? This doesn't matter. Brain, why didn't you tell me how many stairs I went up yesterday? Because it doesn't matter. You don't find it meaningful. And so why am I now deeming this thing to be meaningful? It's irrelevant to me.
You do find it meaningful if you're having to do that.
Well,
not, like,
if something leads you to getting fired and losing income, or leads you to getting divorced, or leads you to getting in a car wreck and dying, you better give it meaning. And he's not drawing that distinction. You know, yeah, going upstairs is not as important as, you know, getting shot in the head and now you're dead. So just saying anything at all whatsoever is irrelevant is stupid, in my opinion, because some stuff does matter. What we do is, when people have beliefs in them not serving them, we will change those beliefs on a subconscious level. But I tell people over and over again on my show, there's times you should be angry. If someone's beating your friend up, get angry and mess that guy up.
Righteous anger.
Get out of him.
Yep.
Yeah. In that time, if you are on a mountain trail 2 feet wide, it's 1,000-foot drop on your right, you should be anxious. You know, so you don't just say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Well, sometimes it should matter. You know, when his Tiger Woods is such a good example of how bad his solution is. Oh yeah, I did this. So what? Oh, now his wife is going to stay with him and he's not going to lose all his endorsement deals because he just said, so what? I'm the best golfer. That's going to fix it. It's like,
not a good PR move.
Shut up.
Not a good PR move.
Yeah, not a good move.
It halts the conversation and it stops the cycle. I say this, and I know that I got passionate about this, but I say this as someone who struggled with this for a very long time.
Why has he struggled with it for a very, very long time? Because it's in his subconscious. He's found a management tool.
Well, it doesn't. He just said but it stops the cycle. Well, no, it doesn't, because you just called it a cycle. That means it's going to come back.
It's AC/DC.
It's something that's helped him. I do believe it's helped him, but it's a partial solution and it doesn't fix the underlying problem.
Maybe pauses the cycle is a better term.
Yes.
100%.
And so the only psychotherapy that I was able to do was on myself. And it was not through talking out all of these things. And I know that a lot of people are going to get triggered. A lot of people are going to say, hey, I have a therapist.
Now, I agree. A lot of therapy doesn't help people. True.
They changed my life. Good for you. That's awesome. Keep doing it. I don't care. What I'm doing is I'm trying to talk to people who have not had that or have done that, and it did not work for them. All right. And so I'm sharing the single most powerful mental model that has worked for me, which is purposefully staring at the problem and saying, so what? Your move. And watch it shrivel. And then moving on the fuck with your life. So anyways, I love you all. Mosey Nation, appreciate you. Thank you for giving me the attention that you did today. I make these videos because I hope that
because you got nothing else to do. Thanks, Alex.
No, you got plenty to do. I think he's trying to help people. I do. Now,
I do too.
Deep down, he is. Deep down, he is. There's no doubt.
I also think that his solution may work for some people.
Mm-hmm. For a while.
I think for some people it can to some degree help.
Yeah.
But there's many people it's not going to do anything for.
Correct.
And it's not fixing the underlying issues. And so there are big limitations.
Book a session, Alex. Book a session. We'll get you sorted out.
Yeah.
With all three of us at once.
Yeah. Anyways, that's our show for today. I guess to sum it up, what would you say the theme for today should be? What's the lesson we've learned from this?
I think that there's a lot of advice out there. Be careful.
Yeah, try it. And if it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It meant the advice was bad.
That's right.
And furthermore, again, my show about the ultra wealthy mindset, he talks about insecurities that this did not fix. So it's a part, even if it works for you, it is a partial solution at best. It's temporary. You say things over. Anytime something comes up, you say it, and if it's good self-talk, it can temporarily mitigate the issue. Good self-talk can do that. It doesn't solve the issue. You got to go down and fix your subconscious. And the fact that I've struggled with this for many, many, many years, yeah, because it's a subconscious program and you found something to manage it now, but that program has been there for many years. Why you struggled, it's still there. You just found a way that works for you, Alex, to manage it. At least that works for now.
And there's a new viewer name I've not heard before.
You won't struggle
Clark
anymore
Sent.
at all.
Clark
Clark.
Thanks,
Sent,
Clark.
great guy.
Thanks, Clark.
Yeah, I know
Sent.
Clark. How you doing,
Oh,
Clark?
did you? Nice. Very good.
I did a session with him actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a good
All
guy.
right. So
My lesson I was going to say was, you can't fix a subconscious problem by beating it with your conscious mind.
That's right.
You're not going to do that, and that's what Alex.
you can manage it, but you can't fix it.
And that's basically what.
And when we
Alex
fix
said.
it, you just don't struggle anymore.
Yeah.
You don't even need to do the self-talk. It's good to do self-talk to take things to the next level, but you actually don't need to do it when the trauma's not there.
Correct.
But it's good to give yourself positive self-talk because then that just takes things to the next level. But there's no trauma to manage. When it's gone, it's gone. That's what we do. So anyways, that's our show for today. Alex Hormozi, overall, very good guy. He just he found something that works for him, but we want you guys to understand there's a lot of deeper stuff going on here. And hey, try it out. If it works for you, great. If not, come to us, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our show. Thanks for watching.
Hey,
the truth is that the truth is out there, and we're trying to divulge truth to you guys. My success rate, 95%. You guys, very high success rates too. And then not saying we fix everything, but what we fix is permanently fixed. Not saying we fix everything in one session, but what we fix is
everything we can.
And typically doesn't come back at all. It's just, you don't even need to manage it with self-talk. So truth is out there. We'll show you guys. If you're interested, give it a shot, But at the end of the day, we're just giving information. We're giving you guys the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, you actually fix yourself. We show people we don't fix people. We show people how to fix themselves because the power lies with you guys.
You have more power than you know.
That's my line, damn it. You have more power than you know. Bye.